I don't know if it's actually obvious here, but I'm kind of trying to do something a little bit behind the scenes. The way GST is, you just don't know. I'm actually shooting this video on my drone right now. So my drone is acting as my camera person, and I just got a microphone here. I don't know if that's obvious or not. I'll see if I put that in the video. Welcome back to the channel and thanks for being here. As you can see, today I'm outside because it's a glorious day. I thought I'd shoot my video out in the open. But today I want to talk about GST and specifically how it applies to real estate purchases and sales. Now, if you ask your average person, or more specifically your average agent, they will tell you that GST applies only on the purchase of a brand new property. That is something that's never been lived in. Unfortunately, and I learned this on the hard way, GST applies in many more circumstances. Now, as I said, I learned it the hard way, so if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly how that happened. GST can apply in a number of circumstances, and now with the advent of Airbnb and in-home or work-from-home situations, we need to be a little bit more careful. So, GST could apply in the following circumstances. Let's say you buy a brand new property that's never been lived in, but has changed titles one time. You may be on the hook for GST. Now you gotta be careful in situations like that because a clever agent will put in the listing details that GST has been paid. Now, of course, that's true. GST has been paid. That doesn't mean that you as the new buyer is not going to be on the hook for any GST going forward. Other situations where GST may apply would be things like Airbnb or a work from home situation, like perhaps maybe someone has set up a salon in their garage or in the back of an office or home office. Other times where it may apply is any time that somebody has used a property for revenue generating purposes and they have claimed GST against expenses for that property, you may be on the hook for a portion of GST. Now, it may not apply to the entire property, and that's not the problem. The problem is not knowing at all whether or not it applies to any portion. If you are buying a brand new property and you do have to pay GST, that's fine. We all know about that situation. However, if you get into a situation where you're buying a quote unquote a new property, as in it's never been lived in, but someone else bought it from the developer, that is a situation where you are likely going to be on the hook for some GST. Now, the original buyer can actually claim their GST back from the government so that the government doesn't get to dip the GST twice. The other thing that comes into play is intent. What did the original buyer of the property intend to do with that property? If they intended to live in it, you may be okay. However, if they did intend to sell it as a new property and sort of be a pseudo builder, you may be on the hook for GST. Have I said GST enough yet? Are you getting sick of it? That's good because it means you're going to pay attention. Now, as a buyer, you may say to yourself, well, how do I know? How do I know if this person has used it for business purposes or Airbnb, or how do I know that GST actually applies? And the answer is, unfortunately, it's really hard. You don't know if GST is going to apply unless the seller has been 100% honest with you. The one thing you can do to protect yourself is write in the contract that if GST is applicable, the seller agrees that the price includes GST. Or another way you could write it is that seller and buyer agree that price includes GST if applicable. Now, I told you I would tell you how I became aware of this situation with the GST, and unfortunately, it went like this. A client of mine bought a property that was 1 year old. It had been bought from the developer, it was brand new, never lived in, and the listing said that GST had been paid. Now, of course, that's true. However, I was unaware of this situation at the time, that if the person had never lived in the unit and it was still considered brand new, that GST would in fact apply to my purchaser. So in that situation, I unfortunately had to give up my commission to settle the GST debt for the client and make them whole. And that was fine to do, it was the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking at property that seems brand new, but you're buying it from somebody other than the developer, just be aware that GST may be applicable in that situation. Or with all this COVID stuff that's been happening and more people working from home, I would just protect yourself and put in the contract that GST does not apply. And if it does, the price includes GST if it's applicable. That way, going forward, you don't have to know whether or not GST applies to your purchase as the buyer. That's it for me for the day. If you enjoyed the video or at the very least learned something, let me know in the comment section below. And don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Other than that, thanks for watching and have yourself a great day.